Okay, it's fine. Okay, so this is a talk for young people or whatever. The reason I want to talk about this is because it's really weird doing this with someone else in the room. It so basically I used to have a job and then I quit and then I had to create work for myself, and it took me a while to figure out how to do that. And one of the things I've often struggled with is, or like when you're applying for a job, the reason it often felt so bad was because I really wanted to work, but it felt like someone else had to give me permission. And that's when that's the worst thing about job hunting for me, was feeling like I didn't have permission to do the stuff that I really wanted to do or want to learn about, or I just didn't have I felt like I needed a structure in order to learn and be productive. And so when people would say no, then it basically translated to me not being able to work and create the kind of things that I want to do. But then becoming like an entrepreneur and whatever, like a self kind of employed person, one of the things you need to figure out is how to be your own manager. And obviously, like being like a good man, like having a good manager is something that's been really important to me, because just having a good manager who kind of understands you well and helps you prioritize your, not only your professional life but even kind of more broadly what your goals are. And so not having so basically having a good manager is really important. And like it took me about 6 to 8 months, and in the beginning I was like super whatever, like not being very productive and struggling to kind of have structure to my day, just waking up at odd hours, sleeping at odd hours, working at odd hours. There was no method to it. And I think just having a kind of a structure, a method, a process by which you work is really important. And so basically in this talk, I want to talk about some of the things that really helped me be able to be an effective manager myself and create work for myself. And the reason I think it's important is because once you have your own work process, you're not reliant on someone else's. And I think there's a parallel here to like relationships, right? And people say you should be kind of an independent person, and that is what will lead to like good relationships, rather than you feeling this insufficiency or incompleteness and then trying to use like work with someone else to provide you that structure and completeness. And so I think in the same kind of vein of thinking, um, having your own job structure, the ability to be productive, creative, effective on your own makes it a lot better, because you're not reliant, you're not desperate. Like even if no one wants to give you a job, like you can create your own thing and be happy. And there's then never a question of, oh, I think there's two parts to kind of the whatever trauma, or some better word than that, for losing a job. One is that you don't get money. The other was actually that you're cut off from being able to be productive and work on things. And so I think the question of what will I do goes away once you can kind of operate on your own in this way. So I think it's something I wish I had kind of learned earlier, and I think other people could benefit from. Um, so what are the things that I've learned that I think would be valuable for other people to know? Um, So there's a bunch of them. I think they can all pretty much be captured by this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I could just tell you to read that book. The reason I think that's maybe not always a winning strategy is because whatever, there's some reason why that book isn't ideal for everyone. But what are the things that are really important to do? I think the first thing is to recognize that outcomes are the result of some system. And so what you actually need to be doing, your initial job as a self-employed person is to figure out the system by which you work, that then will eventually drive the outcomes that you're looking for. And so something that have really helped is I think the first thing is to recognize that there are no hardbound rules. I think we all place upon ourselves these like constructs of things you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And the reality is that a lot of those things don't apply. You can don't ever, whatever, like we feel like, oh, things have to be done in this way, but really that's just, someone's opinion. And if you recognize deeply enough that whatever, I mean, this is a little hokey, but that you're responsible for your own outcomes and everybody else can only provide kind of external structure, but that structure is always, as whatever Neo says in the Matrix, some rules are meant to be bent, some rules are meant to be broken, whatever. But you need to know the rules, you need to know cause and effect really well. But once you know that, there's a lot of stuff you're free to do. And actually recognizing that you can do it. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but recognizing that you can do it is really important. For example, I met this one person, and this person really wanted to live in the UK. And I was like, why don't you just go live in the UK? And their response was, oh, the visa stuff is too hard, or, they don't make it easy. So there's like a judgment in that, right? Like easy and hard is like, whatever, like, what does that mean? You could talk about maybe the specific, I think, rather than saying, oh, it's not possible, you talk about what are the actual constraints. And then you can always find a way around those constraints. Like there's one person who, was, there was one person who wanted his internship at this company really badly and really liked kind of video game design. But their university didn't support doing like an internship. And so they were like devastated. They're like, oh, I can't do this. And then I was like, you can't do this specific thing, but you can still, like, what you care about is not like getting an internship at this company. What you care about is, building great games. And you can apply to unpaid internships. Can you apply, are the visa rules you can kind of, can you apply for a different kind of visa? Does it work if you're unpaid? Are they kind of similar places in other countries that you can maybe intern for? If you can't intern at all, can you just make your own game? Can you find like 3 people in your university who maybe care about the same thing as you, and just get them together and try to build something, or just build something on your own if no one's agreeing, right? And if you can't build a whole game on your own, that's fine. Just work on the concepts. Like, just do, like, there's a way to do it. And don't take no as a no. Take a no as a, don't take a no from the world as a give up, but like take a no as try something different. So I think that's one thing, but that's kind of vague. So I think just like having stuff on your calendar really well planned out is really good. I think knowing the difference between stuff that's important and urgent is really good. So that whole matrix. Inbox zero has been really good for me personally. Recognizing when you're getting distracted and basically like apportioning your time correctly is really important. Figuring out your triggers. So at least for me, I had to like block all these sites because I just couldn't, like, my fingers were just trained to like go there whenever there was a moment of, oh, this is too hard, or there's some amount of discomfort, right? In anything, it's just like, oh, okay, go to Bloomberg. Okay. Like, you just get this information hit, and then, but you're not really, making progress. So that's really good. Flow Club has been really good. And just having like a group meet and have some accountability, especially while working at home. That's been really nice. Weekly planning is really good. Yeah, this roles and goals thing, you can talk about that. Maybe just read this entire book. Yeah, do recurring one-on-ones with people you like. That's a really good skill. But that's not really getting things done. Yeah, the 4 things, the 4 levels of time management: the to-do list, the undifferentiated calendar, the differentiated calendar, and then differentiated calendar with kind of guiding principles. That's a really good one. Yeah, and then having a process KPI, I think, is really important. It can get a bit tedious, but having some sense of where are you spending your time? Like, imagine this isn't your time and there's some other kind of, maybe you've worked in finance and you're like, oh, we're spending too much money on this project. What do? You like first get an audit of every line item, and then you figure out where are the biggest buckets being spent, and then you go and then you dive into the details of those big line items and figure out where you can remove inefficiencies, right? And so as a self-employed person, like, our time is all we have. And so one thing you want to do is, just spend like 1 week, like, it's a pain, you won't do this every week, but just spend like 1 week really trying to capture what you did on a very granular level. And you need to know kind of where your time is going in order to be able to figure out if that's what aligns to what you care about and value. Um, so doing that exercise once and figuring out where things are makes a big difference. Um, I delete all the apps on my phone, and then when I need to use them, I just download them and then delete them again. That saves me from having to. It saves me from a lot of like unnecessary time. And yeah, chess I've had to just like block on all my devices. I just can't control myself. And so what I have actually is a monthly reminder to delete all the apps and uh, block all the websites, because inevitably, like, you'll download it once and then you'll use it, and that'll happen. But now, at the end of every month, I know that I have to delete everything and just start from scratch. And so your default isn't, oh, it's installed once and now it's going to live on your phone forever. And so you get to be a lot more conscious about how you're spending your time. Like, yeah, unfortunately, social media is just this. It's not even about social media, right? It's about what we crave when we find things hard and how to soldier on despite them. And so just making it hard for your mind to find an easy escape is really good. On my laptop, I blocked all this shit, so that's been helpful for me as well. What other getting things done do we know? Yeah, whatever, like get exercise and stuff, obviously. How else do I get shit done? So I plan my week on Sunday. I fill up most of my calendar with specific tasks. So first I figure out, like, I have a list of things I want to do, and the way that I divide them is basically like, what roles am I playing? So there's like a, like a friend, like a coworker, like a whatever, coach, whatever, like, co-founder, founder. So what are the roles that are most visa seeker? What are the roles that are most important to me this week? And what are my kind of goals for those medium, whatever kind of goals you have for them? Ideally, it's the important but not urgent ones. And so which ones do I care about now? And then do weekly planning, because that'll give you a good idea of how much you're spending where. Just having a super organized calendar has been really good for me. One thing I've started doing is putting Calendly meetings in specific slots, so I don't have one-on-ones littered across my day. Most of my one-on-ones I'll do after lunch when I'm in a good mood and not productive anyway. What else? I work on the weekends on projects that require like a lot of focus. I think, oh yeah, two essential things for getting work done. One is a list of what you have to get done, specific list of what you have to get done. And the more specific you can be, the better. And the other thing is a clock counting down next to it. That's all you need to work. Actually, the third ingredient would be maybe someone to keep you accountable. So, you don't just like give up, and just like some level of, just like even a very minimal, but some level of accountability, like, oh, I'm actually working on this, or I didn't work on this. So Flow Club again has been really good for that. Um, Actually, food has been this big issue for me in terms of getting things done, because I never, and I still don't, and I should fix this, but I don't schedule time for myself to sort out food. And so, if I'm, some days when I'm, just in the flow, I will get to the point where I'm like starving. So sort out your basic stuff also as a part of this. Uh, and maybe that goes with the exercise stuff, right? Yeah, I think this is like a larger thing, but just having what you, the decision that you're constantly, the meta decision you constantly have to make is like, what is important to me right now, and what do I want to devote time to? And what you don't want is for that to change a lot. You don't want the factors on which, or the criteria by which you decide whether something is important or not, to change with the weather or your moods or the time of day, right? And so just having like a written list of things that you're like, this is what's truly important to me, these are the kind of things that I really want to happen. Having them written down and having spent some amount of time thinking about them and writing them down, then they become this very constant kind of, signpost that you can refer back to. And then you're not spending so much time thinking, oh, does this make sense to me? Because whatever, we have this like larger need for consonance amongst all the things that we're doing, and they should, or at least I do, maybe everyone doesn't, but like it should all make sense in a frame. And so this kind of very core, this is what I care about, this is what I want to happen, grounds all of that and ties it all together. And so now when you have like decisions that affect various things, you can at least go back and say, okay, like this is what I really care about. And so maybe that's something to think about there. Yeah, so just having a list of things written down is a good scenario. Yeah, maybe yeah, figure out where your time is going that's not valuable to you, and then figure out what it is that you care about, and then divert the time to that. And so that's the first step. And then the second step is just to get better at and more efficient at the things you do, right? And so each allocated unit of time. Yeah, and actually one thing I would do is allocate some amount of time each week to actually improve your system. For that, all that other stuff. So just like reading and measuring and trying to like improve how efficient you are in every given hour of whatever you're doing. I think actually that is the first thing that would start. So whatever, when I have like whatever people that I'm working with in some kind of coaching or advisory capacity, the first thing I do is actually figure out that the first thing you need to do is allocate time to everything that you think is important. And then more important than allocating a bunch of time, it's for you to allocate recurring time. And so you have some time every week in order to improve upon that skill. And the first skill is to figure out how do you make your system better, right? And that's kind of, yeah, there's that PPC balance. Just read that book, man. Just read 7 Habits and just like 100 times and then you'll be sorted. So can I incorporate more stuff from that into this? Yeah, that's good. That should be enough.